Hey folks, I made this video series back in February and it was basically a three-part discussion. I never got around to the third part because of classes and the video just starts out in the middle of nowhere, assuming you've already watched the previous videos. I recommend you do so by going here, but I figure I should at least catch you up to my point with this announcement. We now return to our previous discussion. If the new information and discussion of new injustice and inequality becomes overwhelming for you, as paradigm shifts are rough, put them on the back burner. Keep your ear to the ground about evidence, and don't let your emotions get involved. As you learn more, you can make a better, less emotional judgment. Be open-minded and don't reject it, but don't let it get you to the point of being overwhelmed or guilted. If you have guilt about it, you have missed the point. That makes it more likely to slowly try and alter your paradigm and maintain skepticism from both sides. And activists, please remember that paradigm shifts are rough, and don't act pretentious if a person who is trying to help isn't changing their paradigm fast enough for you. It isn't helping your cause at all. They could end up telling you where to stick it for being high and mighty and end up rejecting the cause utterly out of negative emotion. Please watch using charged language, especially with your allies. It's not the most important thing in the world to people who it's impossible to experience because it's not affecting them, and they're going out of their way and often zone of comfort to do what they can to learn the facts to perpetuate equality. Not like you should be down on your knees thanking them for helping, they are no better or lesser than you, but it does take effort when they aren't steeped in it because they aren't affected by your forced experience. Getting huffy because someone isn't up on the language or hasn't switched over their paradigm completely will more likely turn them off to your cause than help them. It will help widen the communication disconnect gap instead of narrowing it. Those forced versus impossible experience communications gap can occur in many areas of life that opportunists can use to gain advantages. Gay versus straight, older and younger generation, feminists and men, neurotypical and neuroatypical, and rich and poor. Opportunists widen this gap as much as possible, and they get a lot of benefits out of the divide. And non-communicative activists can often accidentally do the same thing while trying to do good because of their inexperienced passion. Another form of disconnect can occur by just job choice experience, which is less forced or impossible, and just luck of the draw. It took a while to switch my mindset from blue to white collar. As I discussed in a video on Asperger's, the transition for many people are tough. I didn't understand Dilbert for the life of me, and then once I was in the bureaucratic world, I understood it completely. My experience didn't allow me to grasp it. When a white-collar person in a mixed group does something that's just a normal part of red tape and legal protection, like, say, creating a sexual harassment policy, the blue-collar or less bureaucratic-minded people might think the idea completely stupid, while the proposers are scratching their head trying to figure out what the uproar is about. It is a disconnect of experience. This kind of disconnect often occurs between supporters of different parties thanks to social and internet bubbles from interest-finding algorithms, so that when supporters of different parties meet, they are shocked and appalled by what the other side believes because for all intents and purposes they are speaking completely different languages and have different frames of reference about reality. It seems like everything I've said in this video can make me sound like I'm trying to be PC because I put modifiers on everything I've said to reduce charged language. The funny thing is, political correctness was created to do just what I'm doing now, and that is to eliminate charged words. However, the only people who really adopted it were the white-collar groups, and people began using the long wording required to be politically correct to help hide behind the flowery language and obfuscate the truth without ever saying anything of substance, which is why it now has such a negative stigma, especially among the blue collar, the very people it was created to bridge the gap with by politicians. In terms of feminism, the mainstream of what the third wave was supposed to produce seems to be largely lost or confused thanks to the right. If you want to know the current issues that are important to the feminist movement, please check out the video in the bottom bar by Thrashlabs of the 5 things feminism still needs to accomplish. The position of progressive feminists are often strawman with issues like, why should women get extra time for being a mom if dads can't? In liberal European nations, they completely agree and allow equal pay leave for new moms and dads and allow more job flexibility, creating a better adjusted, more emotionally bonded, less stressed kids and parents. In America, if anyone is given time off for kids, it's usually the mother, which some men resent. but that is a side effect of patriarchy that is still pervasive in this nation. Please go to the bottom bar for ZOMGitschris' great discussion on patriarchy and how it hurts men and women, and how the elimination of patriarchy in feminist theory would eliminate the complaints of the men's rights activists. We all have to pick our battles and divide labor of causes. Feminists pick the battle of women's rights, but that does not mean they're against people who focus on men's rights. These communication gaps are things we need to all be aware of, and both sides much more clearly communicate their point of view without trying to create guilt or using charged words. Unless, of course, they're just trying to be an opportunist and get subs and popularity. If you're truly interested in bridging the gap, you must be aware at all times of the mechanisms that are causing the disconnect and figure out how to humanize both sides and let the communication flow instead of widening the gap. Every belief I hold to this day and will hold in the future came from my frustration with my own inability to communicate and convince others. After getting over just calling them stupid or uneducated like many people do, I instead did deep research into their side and quite often found my own views to be lacking. If you can't convince someone of something, don't give up, study, and practice. You may end up learning a new communication tool, and you may end up learning that you were flawed. Be excited about fixing the flaw in your knowledge, and don't be hurt or angry that you might be wrong.